What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Odd Chopper channel, coming to you with another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Logs. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me on this video, goes a long way for you. That way you become a prize whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. I'm just getting it out here from the get-go, mainly because I just watched like the worst first quarter my Timberwolves have played all year long. And of course, we're holding 8.5. It's a little bit strange to me. DeAndre Ayton gets ruled out, and now the Trailblazers are playing better, and the number didn't really move. It's a little frustrating. It's a little bit frustrating. We'll talk about that spot as well. It's on a back-to-back here. And then we got 11 total games. Tons of news here waiting in the wings. I got screwed over on a Cade Cunningham under 8.5 assist prop. Last play of the entire overtime period, he goes over that number for 9. That was very, very hurtful in the premium Discord. Lots of stuff. It's kind of been happening like that over the course of the last 7-8 days. It's like either it's just a blowout W, Kyron Williams, where he has like 4 or 5 catches, goes way over the 13.5, 14.5, 15.5, wherever you got that number at, or you get the inverse, where it's like just getting hooked left and right. We'll see how this Timberwolves play ends up panning out. There's a lot of time left. Oh, man, Klingon's actually a pretty decent little center. He's interesting to watch, but we're going to get to it. 11 games, bet 365, damn good find. Why don't you sock it to me one more time? You've probably never seen me say these things. It probably sounds ridiculous. Why am I stalling? Let's go, producer Jacob. Let's get to the picks. Yeah, we don't have a lot of time to dilly-dally here today. We've got Indy minus 2.5 taking on Orlando, and this is much, much later than I normally record. Well, not that much. It's like an hour later, but the whole thing is we needed to wait to have a lot of lines drop so I could get some bets in. Because again, if I have something with a like next to it, I am getting bets in. Well, I have a bet from this one. Indy makes all the sense in all the land here in this spot. Orlando's on the back-to-back. Indy isn't. They just got done playing a cup game. Plus, Jalen Suggs got dinged up, turned his ankle. That's one of the most important players that exists on this Orlando team. It's him and Franz Wagner. And Franz Wagner carried the absolute wagon on his back. I mean, he looked unbelievable here tonight. But now you're getting Indy fresh. I know there's no Isaiah Jackson, a little bit lack of depth, but it's kind of the name of the game with Orlando here too. Goga Bitadze, Mo Wagner, come on now. Let's take Indy. Seems strange on the road, but these NBA Cup games, I'm going to be fading some teams on these back-to-backs. Boston, 8.5 points. I just said, oh, Eric, you're thinking about fading that? Oh, I don't know about this one. It should have been a night off for Jason Tatum. He did not look completely right to me there in that Atlanta spot. Atlanta, probably one of the best victories of the year without Trae Young going into Boston. And Jalen Johnson just put the smack down on them. That was impressive. Dyson Daniels was unbelievable. Just thievery everywhere. The guy is pretty incredible on the offensive end and defensive end. Was kind of impressed from what you were getting from him from the former Pelican. That's going to be a nice piece for Atlanta going forward. Probably feels better having DeJounte Murray shipped out and having Dyson Daniels on your team, which is a weird thing to say. But let's talk about this spot where we're getting Ben Simmons off the bench. But Ben Simmons off the bench is kind of something that I think fits what you're needing for this Brooklyn team right now. I think you're going to see him get a lot of assists. He kind of cut into Dennis Schroeder there a little bit, and people know I like me some Dennis Schroeder from a real-life perspective and from a betting perspective. Both of those make a ton of sense here. But as I work through the numbers, I want to land on Boston. But sometimes the data is just saying pump the brakes, pump up the volume, listen to a song, move on with your life. Again, we've got tons of bets and tons of props that are going to show up here later in the day. So I'm just going to make this a lean for the time being. Didn't even put a like next to it because it seems pretty efficient. But as much as I want to fade every team on back-to-backs, Boston will not be one of them. Chicago, New York, this team on a back-to-back. I stared at the +9 on the Chicago side for a long, egregious amount of time. And you know what? Didn't land on this one either, although we'll get to another one coming up later. I promise. But Lonzo Ball continues to be out. You have Jalen Smith and Adama Sanogo, two centers, backup centers that are both questionable here for this one. Right knee effusion. That's such a weird thing to see on an injury report. But you got Zach LaVine back. You got the core 5 guys, Giddey, White, LaVine, Williams, Vooch, out on the floor. And going up against the Knicks team that is on the back-to-back. Now, Jalen Brunson turned his ankle, came back to that game where they ended up taking down Philly. Watched most of that. I wanted to see how Joel Embiid looked. I have some thoughts. About Joel Embiid and Paul George. I think Paul George is going to look really good with a center. He hasn't played with like a dynamic back to the basket or a guy who would just be sitting out there. Paul George was getting open. It must be nice to be Paul George because Kawhi and him kind of doing a lot of the same things on the floor. I think him and Joel Embiid might complement each other more, although Joel Embiid also looked a little bit lumberous here early on in his tenure there. Karl Anthony Towns was getting some stops against Embiid. It was so weird, especially considering Karl Anthony Towns, 30 of 35 centers had been shooting in the restricted area against him. That is the highest percentage in basketball by a landslide. Offensively, you know what you're going to get with Cat. Defensively, he's still got problems. He's got issues. He cashed an underdog card. For anybody who tailed that one in the premium Discord, felt good. We'll talk about that here in a second. There wasn't a lot of good there for me on Tuesday, but I'm staring down the barrel of a 45 here with Miles McBride. I think this is something similar to what I talked about. I didn't pull the trigger on that Peyton Pritchard plus Boston play because it just felt too wide for my liking. Again, 15.5 point dogs go out and win it outright. That was a pretty penny if you could talk yourself into that one. But I think I might talk myself into this. I don't know if we have to wait all the way until closer to lock to be able to pull the trigger on this, but I do expect Jalen Brunson to potentially be limited. Chicago on the other side. This is a great opportunity that if you're going to take, Tibbs doesn't take it easy on guys, but I'm saying if you're going to take it easy on Jalen Brunson for a game, this seems like a highlighted, starred, centered, and circled one in order to do it. Let Cat, let Anunoby, who looked great actually against Philly, and Josh Hart, triple-double season for him against Philly. Let them do the heavy lifting. Let Miles McBride do some extra scoring. That wasn't the best Tuesday for me here. We'll see how this Minnesota game ends up panning out. Again, got hooked pretty hard on Cade Cunningham, but we're firing up some goodness here on a day-in, day-out basis. Gonna get the things. We had such an easy first 2 weeks of the NBA season. This last week and now 2 days, it's been a little bit more difficult for me over here, but I promise to get it going here like I always do. I do it in the MLB streets, did it in the NFL streets. I promise I will do it in the NBA streets, which is my best betting sport. Period. End of story. And if you want to jump into tails to be able to tail that, well, underdog on the left, sports books on the right. Again, pick them all the way on that left section. Underdog, Vivid Picks, DraftKings Pick 6, Better, Sleeper. You sign up at any one of those, or the sweepstakes book down at the bottom, Rebet. 47 of 50 states, that's available. You want to get my $50 package? That sounds strange when you say it like that, but you want to get free month of me in tails? Well, you sign up at any one of those sites and you follow these 4 simple steps on your screen. And you can do that. You just take simple screenshots of your welcome email, first settled bet, and then support@oddshopper.com. That's where you send it to. Take advantage, my friends. Alrighty, y'all, back to the picks we go. Feeling good about this one. I don't see how we're getting 9.5. I know it's on the road. But the 2-7 Philadelphia is a 2-8 after tonight. We double check. Now I'm second guessing myself. It's never great. Probably healthy though, considering, the beginning of it. 2-8. There you go. I had a feeling they were 2-8 coming off of that one. I can tell you one thing. Cleveland's 12-0 because they're very good at basketball. Best record in basketball. There were only 2 Eastern Conference teams with winning records. Nice, Eric. Winning records as we came into that Tuesday program. Boston, Cleveland, that was it. We'll see how the rest of the evening transpires. I think that's pretty much everybody on the Eastern Conference done for the night, but Cleveland's been outrageous. And now you're getting solid minutes out of Send It Home Jerome, Ty Jerome out there playing some ball for Cleveland like it's Virginia. Like it's, I saw him play at US Bank in the Final Four in Minneapolis. That was really fun. 2019? I think that's when it was. I think it was 2019. They shouldn't have advanced to the finals for what it's worth. And then they beat Texas Tech in the finals. Jared Culver, how's he doing? Anyway, we've got Philly on the other side of this one. This is why I feel so good about just laying the 9.5 and moving on with my life. I don't think there's any chance of Joel Embiid and Paul George playing a back-to-back. I just don't. I think there's like a 0% chance that either of them play basketball in this back-to-back. I'm sure the NBA is like, oh, you have to do it. But then they sucked it up and they played in the NBA Cup. Joel Embiid, first game of the... There's no way he's playing on a back-to-back. I don't understand how this number is 9.5 and not 10.5, 11.5. I know it's a road team, but I'll take Cleveland here to win by double digits pretty much every single time just for that half unit. Oh, I stared at this one for a long time because this was one of the first numbers that dropped purely because you had neither of them playing basketball here on Tuesday. And now we go into Wednesday. Pellies are laying they're getting 14.5 going up against Oklahoma City. And I think that's a little bit heavy. I stared at this for a while, said, I still don't trust OKC with Chet Holmgren out. I think that was their best player to start off the season. I understand SGA has been better for his entire duration of his career, that you can't just say outlandish things like that and have people understand, because SGA is one of the best on-ball defenders. We just saw him put up like 45, career high, dropping dimes to everybody. They put Isaiah Joe in the starting unit, which I thought was genius. And they went Jalen Williams at the 5, not the Jaylin who used to be there, but the ALEN, the stud there. He's 6'7", 6'5", basically. Their tallest guy in their starting unit was SGA at the point guard position at 6'6". It was absolute insanity to watch, but it was somewhat effective because Ty Lue did not want to throw the ball down to Ivica Zubac. I was staring at it, screaming at it, but then Zubac just smashed in that second half, tried to get them in come from behind victory, and wait till we get to that lock portion. But I'm staring at this one. I reran the numbers multiple times. I think the under is the only thing that makes sense. I mean, Oklahoma City is still going to be a top 5 defensive team, even with Chet Holmgren out over the course of the next 2-3 months. You're going to get Isaiah Hartenstein out there sooner rather than later, too. That's going to be very, very helpful to get a true center out there. They're going to be a terrible rebounding team, but we don't have Evis Missy. That's somebody that I want to be looking at. We do have him playing in the game, but I'm saying we don't have his props out yet. That's what I want to be staring at. But under 223.5, just going to be a lean. Oh boy, it's just disgusting looking at how many pieces are out for the Pellies. We've reached the lock portion of the program. I feel like I say that on like every lock now. It's just like announcement. Clippers plus 4.5 taking on Houston here in this spot. And let's start on the Houston side of things, because I at least have a couple of notes that I wanted to throw out there regarding them. You got Steven Adams, who's going to be questionable for this one. Jock Landale upgraded to questionable here as well. I don't think we have an issue as far as those backup minutes. I'm always staring at those two, though, on the bench, and here's why. Because eventually, we're going to end up locking and just jamming in the Discord on a moment's whim Jabari Smith rebounding numbers. Alperen Sengun has been just rebounding like crazy, but if you get Jabari Smith to play some backup 5, which is what happened last season when they didn't have a true center behind it, Jock Landale, Steven Adams, you're going to get one of those spots where I think those props are going to look unbelievable, and they're going to be very, very sneaky, mainly because, you know, Alperen Sengun, probably the guy who gets ripped off the board first between everybody there, but Jabari Smith might play some backup 5 if that ends up coming to fruition. I don't think it does in this spot, but it's always on my radar. I think that was kind of the main thing I wanted to throw out there, because now we're starting to see the rotations. We're starting to see what things are, what things aren't. Kevin Porter Jr. is still going to be a part of this major rotation, and he's actually been leading the entire Clippers in terms of usage when he's out on the floor. 30% usage, absurd things. That is very hurtful to have Kevin Porter Jr. and his 43.5% true shooting percentage, 41.4% effective field goal percentage out there in the second unit chucking. But it's still kind of worse to have James Harden doing what he's doing. 43.4% effective field goal percentage, 52.5% true shooting on 31.5% usage. Now, why do I bring these two guys up? Well, they're the primary ball handlers for the Clippers, and it's extremely frustrating because there's a guy playing all-star basketball, and I was going back and forth on X over the weekend and again watching him play on Monday because he is doing absolutely absurd things, and nobody is talking about it. I'm talking about Norman Powell, who's actually third on the Clippers in usage this season at 27.4%. But let me give you some splits. He is shooting 50% basically from the field, 50% from 3, 85% rounding up ever so slightly, 85% from the free throw line, and his true shooting numbers, 68.4%, effective field goal percentage, 65.1%. He is setting the world on fire, and I do expect some negative regression. We were seeing Terrence Mann shoot the ball horrendously for the Clippers. In fact, they're starting to go to more Amir Coffey, who's shooting right around 50% from 3 himself this year. That's not going to sustain here. And then Chris Dunn, if he learned how to shoot, he's always been an incredible defender going back to his Minnesota days, his Utah days. They were very limited days because he got sent out because he can't shoot. But Chris Dunn, if he continues to knock down shots, he should play against this Houston team. But Norman Powell is at 21.5 points. Norman Powell needs to be playing massive minutes. He's playing all-star quality basketball, and I doubt he gets there purely because of name recognition. He's averaging 26 points per game. And yes, this is a Houston team that I understand why this is at 21.5. Totally get it. Houston, 4th slowest in terms of pace, 97.5 possessions per 48 minutes. I did all the legwork for you, though, friends. This is at -110 at BetMGM. You could bet this up to 23.5, -115, and I would be okay with it to some extent. I wouldn't make it a lock at that number. Don't get me wrong, but 21.5, it is at -110 at BetMGM. Bet365 has it at -120. Anything in that realm at 21.5 is a joke with this current version of Norman Powell playing upper 30s minutes every single time. In fact, he hasn't gone underneath this number since October 27th. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games consecutively. And again, I don't ever throw out the last 8 thing, but this is a pure usage thing. Give him the volume. Come on, Ty Lue, let's figure our shit out. And you can check this out. Bet365, damn good find. Why don't you sock it to me one more time over at North Carolina? Come on and raise up. Take your shirt off, twist it around your head, spin it like a helicopter. I have no such rap puns for Pennsylvania or Ohio or Iowa or Indiana, Arizona, New Jersey, Kentucky, Virginia, Louisiana, Colorado, Rocky Mountain High. It's John Dever. Doesn't really fit the qualifications. But this is what's going to fit the qualifications. You bet 5. You get 150 at Bet365 if you're in any one of those 11 states. So take advantage of it down at the link below and help support this program. The program, as some people around ESPN would like to call it. Anywho, 21 and over, 18 and over in Kentucky. If you have a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's finish this thing out, shall we? No idea what words I was just trying to say. I'm awfully tired. But we got Detroit. They're going to be tired in this one. They just played an overtime period out of the middle of nowhere. You had the weirdest end of game scenario. And again, I just sit here on my iPad, the TV, and I just turn around and, Ma, meatloaf, stuff like that. I don't live with my mom. I think that's important that you know that. Anyway, Detroit plus 4.5 here in this one. Milwaukee, yeah, they ended up putting the gauntlet down. Giannis did not even have the best game, but Bobby Portis did. They put AJ Green into the starting lineup. Kind of an interesting run out, but Detroit, they got very, very, very lucky to win that game. First off, never should have gotten to overtime in the beginning. I mean, Miami just choked that away. Tyler Hero went berserk, but Eric Spoelstra at the end of that game calls a timeout he doesn't have. They get technical for it, and then, well, they make the one free throw, and that's all she wrote. He put Kevin Love in to try to inbound it, and it wasn't even their ball. I don't know if anybody noticed that. You don't care? Okay, let's talk about this one and get out of here. Under 220.5. I have this as a lean like. What does that mean? Well, it means I think that people are probably going to bet this up to a place where I don't want to bet it yet. 220.5. Again, a lean like can be whatever I want it to be, but I'm letting you know that's the differentiation. I wouldn't be betting. I'd still bet it at 219.5 and take an under, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to sit here and chill. 222, 223. I think that's in the realm here. Especially if you end up getting something weird like a Giannis sitting or a Brook Lopez sitting, the defense would look very, very different. We'll see. Milwaukee needs to win basketball games. I doubt either of those guys sit, but we shall see. They got to hit the easy button towards the end of that fourth quarter. Washington taking on San Antonio here in this one, 222.5 total. Washington getting 7.5 points. We had Bud Carrington. He was questionable in the last injury report. Kind of like what that young guy's been doing here for them. He kind of fills up a box score. Why am I fills up the stat sheet? There you go. Stat sheet, box score. Box score, stat sheet. Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. Bilal Coulibaly did not go over. That really, really sucked because Kyle Kuzma got ruled in out of nowhere. They didn't even tell us anything. He was still listed as out. And then the injury report shows up and it's like, oh, Kyle Kuzma's not on it. Okay. Not even listed as questionable like most guys are leading into it. Just so dumb. Washington, just send them to the shadow realm, never to be heard from again, please. As for Jeremy Sohan, he's not going to be playing basketball here for a while, nor is Trey Jones. He's going to be out for another game or so, but he'll be back soon. Chris Paul, Stephon Castle has been kind of the way that they've been going in that backcourt. Champagnie, Harrison Barnes, Victor Wembanyama, we kind of know the drill by now. Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell off the bench. Kind of a nice 6-7 piece. I mean, Devin Vassell got paid by San Antonio because he's nice. Keldon Johnson, he has a gold medal. I don't know how, but he does. Good talk. Glad we had it. Just saying, it's kind of an interesting spot. I almost put the absolute nuclear bomb down for Wemby for points and a bunch of other things that we could basically be staring down the barrel of for this, but I think under 3.5 assists. That's kind of where it's been sitting at. It's been juiced intermittently. I bet with an up-tempo matchup against Washington here in this spot. And Washington's 4th in pace in the NBA so far this season. I think we probably see this potentially as like closer to the -110 number here. But Chris Paul has just been cutting into Victor Wembanyama's assist rate, and I can't believe people aren't talking about it or taking advantage of it. So we're going to try to do that. But Chris Paul, 10+ assists. That's just something that I'm kind of ancillarily throwing out there because he's still the point god. And with Stephon Castle out there, not necessarily going to be on ball here, not going to cut into his rates by any means. And another scorer off the bench in Devin Vassell. I think we're going to see some nice double-doubles from point guard sooner rather than later. We head to the evening portion of the program. 3 games to go. Hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Producer Jacob and I are out here burning the midnight oil. And the midnight oil is kind of what Memphis needs here with some of their guard play because, well, outside of Scottie Pippen Jr., it's just not there. John Morant, that hip. I mean, when I hip, you hip, we hip. I mean, it's just him and Chet Holmgren just dinged up to crap. Yuki Kawamura, though, that was really cool in Portland, watching that whole reaction. You don't care about that? I don't care about it either. Actually, it was adorable. But Los Angeles, they've been awesome here at home so far to start off the season undefeated, I believe. 5-0, is that correct? Am I looking at this correct? Yes, they are 5-0 here at home. Now, it's interesting because Memphis, Eric, well, look at their record home and away. And it's just so weird when people bring that stuff up because we always need context. And it's like, well, a lot of those games had John Morant. Yeah, the Lakers are 5-0. They've had a pretty easy home schedule so far this season. So it makes sense that both of those things are true. It's also true that Anthony Davis has been playing like MVP caliber basketball. I don't think he has any chance because Nikola Jokic is putting up asinine stat lines at the moment. And yeah, SGA probably going to be next in line here with Chet Holmgren out for some time. They'll get Hardenstein back, and now it's just going to be crazy usage for SGA. So that'll be fun. But I'm staring at the Lakers here at -7. This is close. I should have made this a lean like because I'm actually more interested in it than just the standard LA -7 here. LeBron James, dude's like almost 40 here now, and it's just absurd what he continues to do. I mean, he's had what? 1 triple-double, 2 triple-double in the last two. That seems good. He's had 3 triple-doubles now on the season, and that's in just 10 games. 30% of the games, the guy who's nearly 40 has triple-doubles. We don't talk about LeBron James enough. I'm just going to throw it out there. We don't talk about how great LeBron... We can talk about other things about LeBron James, because that seems to be the thing most people highlight, whether it's the Kobe stuff or the China stuff. Hi, YouTube. Los Angeles -7, kind of interested in this. Oh, God. Timberwolves. I can't just run back a lock here, mainly because the circumstances are different. And you got to keep in mind, on a back-to-back here, staying in the same city. Well, they kept DeAndre Ayton out of today's festivities. And, well, I'm going to kind of take a look at how today's festivities are going. Currently, they're down 7 in the second quarter. So a lot of work to do to claw back into this one and cover 8.5. Makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm going to make this a straight out lean like for the people purely because you know that I obviously think Minnesota is the much better team between the two, but I want to see how these minutes end up being chopped up. Mike Conley potentially being out on a back-to-back. Always something I'm a little bit worried of. Want to kind of see where the minutes are for this NBA Cup madness. Notice how I didn't really care about it all that much this season, mainly because I don't think it's really going to change in a lot of the handicapping outside of a star player, maybe getting a little bit more run here or there. Didn't happen with Giannis. Just saying, he didn't close out. Sat the last 2.5 minutes of that game against Toronto. Is what it is. But I'm calling this lean like from the get-go because obviously I'd be on this for a half unit if it just stayed at this number, and then I would react to the injury news and everything else. But this is only available at ESPN right now. ESPN has me limited, and Anthony Simons won't return on Tuesday. We'll see if that even matters. He's been terrible this season, but Scoot Henderson, well, he couldn't have been much worse than his rookie year. We'll get into some metrics on that soon. And the last game of the night, the thing I'm the most uncomfortable about here, because this could end up looking ridiculous if I didn't pull the trigger and you get Beal or you get, because again, Bradley Beal's eternally hurt. They're taking on Utah as we speak right now. It's 99-88, 6 minutes left in that one. 6 and change it is. But I'm looking here at the Phoenix side. Devin Booker, if he plays, that would be fantastic. But they kept Nurkic out against Utah. Gotta imagine that they were saving him up here to take on Domantas Sabonis and company. Pretty easy when you have 2 terrible defensive centers in Sabonis and Nurkic out there hanging out, doing their thing. And offensively, they can create and make some things happen. Obviously, very good passers. Domantas Sabonis even more so. He has more guys to basically, because Devin Booker wants to be on ball all the time, as he should be, Kevin Durant continuing to be out, duh. Sacramento on this side of things. Malik Monk going to continue to be out here on this side of things. So, Sacramento's obviously the lean here. Phoenix, back-to-back. I don't see how you wouldn't look at Sacramento at -6 as the advantageous spot, but reran the numbers multiple times. Have this at 7. So Sacramento -7, and I hate betting on Sacramento. They just failed me. 0-1 betting them now for the season, so that's great. Thanks, guys. Way to show up. They did not show up. Just going to throw that out there. What was it? 116-96 to San Antonio. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Enjoy the rodeo. And that does it for a massive 11-game edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks in the NBA streets. Head to the comment section below. Let me know your favorite plays that exist on the board for this one. Got tons of props, tons of things that we're waiting on here. This is a brutal one coming with so many back-to-backs here, but I think we found a couple of spots that are opportune. Hopefully you heard some of the analysis, what I'm interested in the most, where I think some of these numbers could be moving. I think that's just as important as just giving you the plays themselves. Check out Bet365, bet 5, get 150 in bonus bets only if you're 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. And then, of course, Tails, you guys want to jump into the premium Discord, there's a link down below. You can get it for free if you sign up with one of those 11 sites and follow one of those 4 steps that are on your screen. Just take the screenshots of the welcome email, first settle bet, and then email support@oddshopper.com. And again, putting those back up on the screen, 11 sites that you can sign up for. Take advantage right there. Alrighty, cool. They're beautiful. You remember them all? Sign up at one down at the link below. Would love to see you guys in the Discord. Alrighty, y'all. Let's get out of here. Thursday's one game, one look, one look. It's going to be a weird one. Until then, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NBA streets on Hump Day.